Welcome, friends. My name is Susan Draper, and I'm a member of the United Church of Canada and Kairos Victoria. Thank you for choosing to be with me today. The organization that put out this call for a national vigil at MPs' offices across Canada just this past Monday is known as the United Network for Justice and Peace in Palestine and Israel. Comprised mostly of people from the United Church of Canada, it's a network of people and groups working towards the goal of a just peace in Palestine and Israel by calling for an end to the illegal Israeli occupation of Palestinian lands and equal rights for all who live in Palestine and Israel. I am grateful as well for the Kairos Network and other faith communities and individuals who have responded so quickly to my email. This is not an easy issue for anyone to fully understand or to be ready to take a public position on. Confusing and often misleading media reports, fear of hurting another and perhaps making the situation worse, or the risk of being described as anti-Semitic if one is critical of the government of Israel's policies in Gaza. All of these factors make this particular issue a challenging one for activists and ordinary Canadians who are trying to encourage a different path for peace. But engage we must, and as a wise Jewish elder, Bernice Levitz-Packford, I'm sure some of you will remember her, once told me, if we can't have these kinds of conversations and create these spaces for respectful dialogue in Canada, where can we? Indeed. So let us begin. This is how our vigil will work. I will start with a brief sharing, and then when you are ready, feel free to step forward and speak from your heart. If you do not wish to say anything, your presence here today is enough. If you would like to leave something, a photo, a piece of paper with your reflection on it, whatever it is, place your token in this basket here, and I will make sure that our MP, Murray Rankin, receives these symbols of our intention to find a new way of working together on this issue. For we know that we cannot continue to respond in the usual self-serving ways. The children of Palestine and Israel are demanding a fresh approach. We want to encourage our elected representatives to search their hearts and respond in new ways. May this time be for heart-to-heart listening, be helpful to us all. This photo makes us wonder if a dream and one's security depends on the slaughter of such innocents. Is the dream possible or even worthy of support? And by this we mean not only the dream of Israelis, but also the dream of Palestinians. Perhaps the dreams must change because human beings must be valued no matter what their ethnic origin or religion. Juliet holds a photo of two children, a Jewish child and a Muslim child, both of whom are smiling. They are obviously friends, and this photo represents the future we want for all the children of Palestine, Israel. Arm in arm, walking together, creating a new dream based on equality of rights and opportunities. May it be so.
Mohammed Joma Shat, 30. Then another family, Mohammed Fada Al-Aga, 30. Marwa Nader Al-Aga, Ahmad Nadar Al-Agar, and finally Danya Nadar Al-Aga, 13 years old. I think it puts a very personal and immediate face onto the victims to read their names.
Okay.
I am Jewish. I have just read Paul Dewar's statement on the Middle East. Now this was done on July 14th. Whether he has updated it, I don't know. Throughout this statement, he blames the people of Gaza or Hamas for everything. He says the Israelis have responded to the Palestinian rockets. It does not say anything about how many people have been killed. He very briefly, but he's constantly stating he's taken the one side that that Hamas is responsible for this whole thing. in response, I have let the NDP know, I am a member of the NDP, and I have let them know that I will no longer give them any money until they change their policy.
Here, but there's a Welsh singer-songwriter named Martin Joseph. Some of you may be familiar with him, and 5 years ago he wrote a song when 5 Palestinian children, 5 girls, were killed by a stray rocket while they were sleeping at night, and the roof collapsed and they were all killed, and the father made a statement. Their names were Tahir, Ikram, Sanardina, and Jahwe. The father, Anwar Balusha, made the statement that he actually turned on his own Palestinian people, and he said, who wanted to turn the burial of the children into a political statement. And he said, no, this is a funeral, not a rally. And there's the picture of his 5 daughters who were killed. I know this is some time ago, but I think it's relevant. The words of the song I'd like to read. This is not a place for vengeance, not a place for battle cries. This is no rally, it's a funeral for 5 sisters' lives. Every day I watch them growing, in the night I watch them breathe. But it only takes a second, 5 sisters gone. We walk, we breathe, we are not animals, though you treat us like we are. I never fired a rocket, sir, at anyone, but we may have pushed too far. The propaganda of the leaders making speeches, head held high. I want them standing by this graveside where 5 sisters lie. Take away a man's water, build upon his land, raise a mighty wall around him. What is it you don't understand? Make his children walk in squalor with only night stars for a view. Then the rage within that helplessness one day comes back to you. One day I'll buy a rocket, but I'll aim it at the sky. Celebrate in the light of 1,000 colors. I pray for peace and justice in our time. For 5 sisters, too late for my 5 daughters.
Thank you, Murray.
I have a photo here I'd like to share, but first I want to say I'm speaking in great hope as I hold the people of the Palestine and Israel up. I had the opportunity to go to Palestine, the West Bank, and Jerusalem, and parts of Israel in 2008 as part of a pilgrimage for faith and justice led by a Basilian priest from Toronto who's also a Christian peacemaker and has spent many, many years working in Palestine and taking groups there. And I was filled with great hope when I came back, and of late you wonder whether you can have any hope. But I feel we need to have hope. So I pulled out one of the pictures from my trip of Rabbi Yehiel Reneman, who's with Rabbis for Human Rights. He spoke to us. He met us in a Palestinian village in the South Hebron Hills called At-Tuwani. And the rabbis, we spoke with many Israeli groups who are really working for peace. And of course, Palestinian groups who are also working for peace. Christian groups that are working for peace, Palestinian Christian groups as well. But anyway, here's a picture of him. He came to the village. These children in the village were being harassed as they came to the school in this little town by extreme religious settlers. And the rabbis were there to give their support. They give support in so many ways to Palestinians, whether it's getting out there and planting olive trees when they are destroyed, supporting people, doing education with Israelis. So it was just, to me, a remembrance of the hope that I had when I returned, and I continue today to have hope that there will be better times.
I
Yeah, a bit louder.
am upset with all of the representatives of our government who I don't feel have accurately described the situation. I don't know what their fear is. I've written to Mulcair and Baird and the Prime Minister and Paul Dewar and a number of politicians. My MP is Elizabeth May. It's frightening to see how they can't put words together within the safety of our borders. I have asked them to say these words that Ban Ki-moon is able to say. I don't know why our political representatives can't say what Ban Ki-moon says and support him. So I brought his words to put in the basket. You know, yesterday he was incensed, which I believe is the proper response. He was incensed at the deaths of the Palestinians who were among the thousands sheltered in the schools whose UN administrator said appeared to have been hit by Israeli artillery. And he said, it's outrageous, it's unjustifiable, and it demands accountability and justice. I think that's a neutral statement. That's a description of what's happening. I don't know why our politicians cannot say these words. On Monday, he said, the people of Gaza have nowhere to run. They are trapped and besieged on a speck of land. Every area is a civilian area. Every home, every school, every refuge has become a target. I don't know why our politicians can't speak the facts. That's a clear, neutral statement of what is the situation. And for myself, when Ban Ki-moon called for displays of humanity on both sides, and what we've seen is inhumanity, but for me, the most sickening and nauseating thing that's happened is this useless, unnecessary bombing of the power station, which means there will be less water, if any, and no moving of sewage. And this is a recipe for disease.
I come here with a message of peace as well. I come here as a person that, as a human being, was horrified by the events that are taking place there, by the disproportionate response, if that is what we could call it, of Israel. That at least 8 rules of engagement actually in wartime that actually exist are being violated systematically by Israel. I come here as a spokesperson for the idea of a Department of Peace. A Department of Peace in all nations to offset militarism and the increasing power of departments of defense, which rightfully used to be called, until the end of World War II, departments of war. That is what they still should be called. We have this thing that is going on at the present time, in which, for example, at the time when Canada entered Afghanistan, the only person that had any idea was General Rick Hillier. The others were mute, and our governments are mute today. They're mute about how they can possibly respond, because there's, for one reason, and this only has one reason, there is no one in cabinet who represents peace by peaceful means, the transformation of conflict by peaceful means. Who speaks for that in cabinet? No one. I place in the bag, in the basket, we need a Department of Peace in all nations.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's very hard to speak. It's hard to speak, seeing day after day the children that are killed. My heart breaks. But I too want to foster hope. So I brought this picture of our granddaughter so that she might generate some hope
for those unfortunate children that are suffering so deeply in Palestine at the moment. Her name is Alexa.
I'm a member of the NDP. I'm going to stay in the party because I'm going to do my very best to make sure we pass a resolution that calls for a Department of Peace. None of the political parties are doing well on this issue, so get involved that way because they're not representing us right now.
Is not for a Department of Peace, a Department of Disarmament. If you don't have weapons, you can't use them. It's very simple. My cousin, who was Jewish, he went to World War II, he came out, he married his Spanish teacher and became a Quaker. And he took me to Quaker meeting, where I felt very, very much at home, and has influenced me completely. I think it's morally wrong to bear arms. I think that armaments are big money. Big money. Uranium is big money. All of that. So my heart is very heavy today. And thank you for doing this. And may we work for getting rid of weapons.
Hear, hear.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.